You ever have one of those mornings where the world just tilts sideways on you? That was me, the day everything in Haven Falls changed. First knock on the clubhouse door was so faint. I almost missed it, just a brush of knuckles against wood lost in the winter wind. I opened up, half expecting some lost hiker or maybe a neighbor griping about the bikes, but instead there she was, a little barefoot girl, shivering like a leaf, face streaked with mud and tears, clutching a busted-up doll and looking up at me with eyes so wide it hurt. "Please," she whispered, voice cracking. "They hurt my mama. She's dying." Yeah, that happened. Call me Ronan Briggs, president of the local Hells Angels chapter, but forget all the stuff you've heard about us. We're not what you see in movies. Loyalty and mercy. That's what I try to run this place on, even if folks around here still cross the street when they see leather. You know what I mean? But nothing hardens your gut like a child begging for help. So I dropped to one knee, leather creaking, heart pounding. Asked her name, Lucy May, and where her mama was. The blue door by the river flats. That's all I needed. Within minutes, Bear had the medkit, Tank fired up the van, and my boys fell in like they'd trained for this their whole lives. No questions, no hesitation. Lucy May sat in the van wrapped in my jacket, voice barely above a whisper, telling me how her mama tried to hide, but those men just kept hitting. Every word twisted the knife deeper. We hit the trailer park in silence. Rain starting to spit from the sky, porch light flickering, place looked abandoned except for a mess of fresh boot prints and the broken lock. Kicked the door in. Inside, chaos. Blood on the counter. Whiskey stink, overturned chairs, and on the floor, a woman, Mara, barely breathing. Bear checked her pulse. Still hanging on, but just. I pressed a towel to her head, told her she was safe now. Not sure who I was trying to convince, her or myself. Lucy May knelt beside her, tiny hand wrapped around her mama's, whispering. They said they'd come back tonight. Who? Mr. Dalton and his friends from the scrapyard. That name hit me like a crowbar. Dalton, mean as a snake, been muscling folks off river plots for years. We didn't waste time. Hauled Mara onto the stretcher. Lucy May climbing right in beside her, and booked it to Haven Falls Regional, rain washing the blood right off the doorstep as we tore down the highway. Hospital lobby, nurses froze when 6 bikers burst through the doors with a half-dead woman. I told them she wasn't just another number, and for once, nobody argued. Mara was rushed into trauma. Lucy May left shaking in a chair. Hours crawled by, rain streaking the windows, until finally a doc came out. She'd live, just barely. Concussion, busted ribs, internal bleeding, but she's a fighter, he said. I sat beside that kid. Told her mama was gonna pull through, and for the first time, saw her relax. Are you angels for real? She whispered. Not the kind with halos, I said, but I guess it didn't matter. Doctor came back for paperwork. Put it under my name, I said. She's family now. That's how it starts, you know? One promise at a time. The boys and I, we didn't sleep much that night. Sat around the fire at the clubhouse, Bear tracing maps with a stubby finger, Dalton's scrapyard, Miller's Bluff. He's been scaring folks off their land, Bear said. I looked at the fire. Then at my brother's. He picked the wrong house this time. Cops. They move slow. We don't. Dawn broke with thunder. We rolled out, a line of Harleys through the fog, engines echoing like judgment. Out at the yard, Dalton and his crew were jawing, not expecting company. I walked right up, didn't yell, didn't threaten. Just told him, you hurt a woman and left her for dead. That ends today. Dalton laughed. Ain't your business, biker. But when the rest of my boys revved their engines behind me, 50 strong, his face went pale as milk. Law's on our side, he spat. So was her. Daughter's faith, I said. Bear tossed aside a tarp, revealing the bloodied rags and Mara's stolen purse. Proof. One of Dalton's own men looked scared, muttered, maybe we went too far. Dalton turned on him, slapped him hard. That was all I needed. We didn't lay a finger on Dalton. We just tore his little kingdom apart, found the illegal guns, the stolen goods, called in the law, left it all in plain sight. As sirens closed in, we melted back into the fog. By noon, Dalton and his thugs were in cuffs, whole town buzzing with rumors about the Angels. No one said it out loud, but everybody knew. Back at the hospital, Mara woke up asking for Lucy May. When I brought the kid in, Mara cried so hard she could barely breathe. Why would men like you help me? She whispered. I just shrugged. Because no one else did. Gave her back the doll. Watched as the disbelief in her eyes shifted to hope. And here's the twist. While Mara healed, the whole town changed. Folks who used to glare started waving. The boys fixed the hospital's vending machines, paid off Mara's bills, even donated blood, quietly. Lucy May became the clubhouse mascot, riding bears' shoulders, drawing motorcycles on napkins, giggling down hospital halls. Mara got stronger, started smiling again. One night she asked if we ever got tired of saving strangers. I told her, we don't save strangers, we just remind people they're not alone. By the time Mara went home, we'd rebuilt her trailer, planted a garden out front. When she saw it, she just stood there, speechless. I handed her the keys. You're home, I said. She whispered, I don't have words. I told her, then don't. Just live. Lucy May ran into the sunlight, spinning, laughter ringing out like a bell. For once, that place felt like it belonged to hope, not fear. After that, the engines of Haven Falls became a comfort, not a warning. Mara and Lucy May thrived, and so did the shelter we built with the fundraiser the kids started. Her idea, her handwriting on the flyers. The mayor cut the ribbon himself. Lucy painted a mural inside. Angels on bikes, shielding a mother and child. Underneath, no one rides alone. 1 year on, we threw a bonfire, gave Lucy May her own little red mini bike. Mara hugged me, whispering, you gave her childhood back. I looked up at the stars and thought, nah, she gave us all something back, too. Safety, yeah, but more than that, belonging. Love. Proof that even men like us could be the answer to a prayer. You want to know how it ends? Truth is, it doesn't. Mara now runs the shelter. Lucy May rides her own bike. Town folks nod and smile. New families find hope where there used to be none. That desperate knock became a legacy. A reminder that redemption isn't a miracle. It's a choice you make every single day. And if you think what we did was right or wrong, if you've got a story about kindness or justice or just a thought, on second chances, drop it in the comments below. Because sometimes, the roughest roads lead to the brightest places, and everybody deserves to find their way home. Life doesn't just snap back after. Something like that, you know? There's no magic button. But in Haven Falls, you could feel the shift, like the town itself was exhaling for the first time in years. The shelter we'd built out of donations and sweat and the stubborn hope of a 7-year-old kid started filling up, and not just with bruised faces and hushed voices, but with laughter, too. Slow at first, tentative, then a little louder every week. Mara, for all she'd survived, surprised everybody, maybe even herself. She started managing the shelter's office, juggling paperwork, grocery lists, comforting strangers with a kind of quiet authority nobody could teach. Sometimes I'd stop by with Bear and the boys, dropping off supplies or fixing a leaky faucet, and I'd catch Mara outside, watering those marigolds we planted, watching Lucy May draw chalk angels on the sidewalk. She'd see me, smile, and it felt, for a second, like we could pretend the world was gentle. One thing I never saw coming, how the town rallied behind her. That little girl's mural with the motorcycle angels turned into a kind of landmark. People drove from miles out just to see it, dropping off canned food. Or old coats, sometimes even sitting a while, asking if we needed a hand. Lucy May started bringing her school friends by, giving them tours, introducing us like we were celebrities. This is Ronan. My angel, she'd say, and I'd just laugh, feeling older and softer than I ever let on. But let me back up a sec, because it wasn't all sunshine. There were whispers, folks who still crossed to the other side of the street when they saw us roll through. One night, someone spray-painted thugs on the shelter's new fence. Mara found me scrubbing it off before sunrise, hands raw, cursing under my breath. She just handed me a cup of coffee, squeezed my shoulder, and said, old habits die hard, but new ones start somewhere. She was right. That morning, the sheriff himself showed up to repaint. The whole fence, didn't say a word, just worked alongside us till it was clean. There were bigger battles, too. Mara came to me with an idea, opening a second shelter in the next town over. She was nervous, but determined. The night of the county board meeting, she stood shaking at the podium, telling her story, asking for a chance. I sat in the back with my guys, all of us in our vests, and you could feel the tension in the room. Then out of nowhere, one of the oldest board members stood up. "These men saved my niece's life," she said, voice steady as a judge. "If they say Mara can do it, that's good enough for me." Unanimous vote. You could feel something shift, like a lock turning in a rusty old door. Lucy May, meanwhile, was growing up faster than I could blink. She learned to ride her mini bike all over town, helmet painted with angel wings, trailing a string of kids behind her like she was leading her own parade. Bear swore she'd be running the whole chapter someday. The boys started calling her Little Chief, and she wore the nickname like a crown. On weekends, she'd hand out cookies at the shelter, dragging me behind her by the hand, introducing me to every new family. I think that's what got me most. Not the big victories, not the headlines or the donations, but those small, quiet moments. The night a storm knocked out power at the shelter, and the women were scared. You should have seen Lucy May. She just grabbed my hand, marched out to the bikes, and told the angels to bring the light. So we lined up our Harleys out front, headlights blazing through the snow. The kids pressed their faces to the window, watching us sing Christmas songs in the dark. Mara, standing behind them, caught my eye and mouthed, "Thank you." And you know, it's funny how word gets around. The story of Haven Falls spread, not because of any news crew, though they came, sure, shoving microphones in our faces, but because of the way people felt when they walked through those doors. When we threw the first anniversary ride, folks from all over showed up, veterans, families, even the mayor's wife. Mara gave a speech, voice trembling but proud, talking about how kindness sometimes comes wrapped in black leather. Lucy May, taller now, beamed up at her mother, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. The ride became a tradition. Every year, more folks joined, hundreds of bikes snaking down the old highway, the whole town turning out to wave, folks cheering from porches, little kids holding up signs. The shelter wall filled with signatures and messages, some from women we'd helped, some from men who'd learned better. The mural faded a bit in the sun, but the message stayed. No one rides alone. As the years passed, I watched Mara go from survivor to leader, watched Lucy May grow up bold and wild, watched this rough band of outlaws turn into something like family for a whole town. Even when I tried to fade into the background, they wouldn't let me. On my birthday, Lucy May brought in her latest drawing, a chrome motorcycle with angel wings so big they filled the page. "For you, Ronan," she said. "So you remember why you started." I couldn't speak for a minute, just stared at that picture, heart too full. And still, the world isn't perfect. There are days when the old ghosts come back. When Mara wakes from nightmares or the shelter gets a threatening letter, when I wonder if we're really making a difference or just plugging holes in a sinking ship. But then someone new walks through the door, holding their kid close, eyes full of hope and fear, and we do it all over again. That's the legacy, I guess. Not just a shelter or a story or a mural, but the living proof that people can change, that mercy is louder than any engine, that even the hardest hearts can soften if you give them half a chance. So yeah, that's how Haven Falls found its second wind, how we all did. And if you're still here, listening, maybe you've got your own story of second chances, of neighbors who became family, of finding light in the unlikeliest places. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it, comment below, tell someone you believe in them, because you never know when the next knock on the door might be the start of something bigger than you ever imagined. You know what I mean?